All right, I am joined now. Very excited about this. I am with a professional bull rider. I've got so many questions, and what's great about this particular guy, Carlos Garcia, is like myself. He's originally from New York and moved to Virginia. So, Carlos,
Right.
welcome. Let me ask you this question: Where in New York are you from?
So I'm originally from upstate in the Finger Lakes area, like the southern tier in New York, over near below Buffalo and Syracuse, Rochester.
Okay. All right, so
I
you're
live up,
practically Canadian then.
well, kind of. I'm in that southern tier part where it's real rural, in the Finger
Okay.
Lakes region. A lot of wineries, very small towns and communities, and Amish and stuff. So it was a good place to grow up for sure.
Awesome. You grew up in this small town, like I said, very close to Canada. I looked up, it's Hammond Sport is the name of the town, right?
Yep, that's right. Yep, that's
So it's
right.
about 2
I
hours
grew
from
up right
Buffalo.
Yep, that's right. About an hour and a half south of Buffalo.
Okay.
I grew up right on the other side of the lake, actually, in Prattsburg, New York, but graduated out of Hammondsport. And yeah, that's where I started too. My uncles, they built an arena to do kind of like 4-H
Okay.
games and team pennant and stuff like that. And I come from a really big family, and me and all the cousins, we started jumping on them. On all the cattle and the bovines, and realized we could do it for a sport and for a living, and that's where I got hooked.
That's awesome. It's funny whenever somebody says they're from New York, immediately the mindset of the other person is that they're from the concrete jungle, Manhattan, Brooklyn, the Bronx, somewhere in there. But there's so much more to the state of New York, and there's so many areas where it's nothing but farm country and it's nothing but cattle out there. So somebody said, well, why don't you ask him what made him ask Carlos why he wanted to become a bull rider? And when I saw where you were from, I was like, well, Jesus, you're probably it's not hard to connect the dots. It's not like you're from the Bronx and you decide one day I'd like to ride a bull. You grew up around this stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of agricultural stuff, commercials, like monster agricultural farmland where I'm from, and like you said, it is unique. Throughout my life and my career, I ended up graduating at 17, going to college in Oklahoma and college rodeoing, and then eventually moved down to North Carolina and now reside in Virginia for the past 10, 11 years. And throughout that whole time, whenever I said New York, they'd always say New York City, and I'd be like, actually, I went there one time. And I was on the way to another bull riding in New Hampshire in the back of a horse trailer. So long story, but yeah. So and in fact, ironically enough, last year's PBR world champion is from Pifford, New York, which is even closer to Buffalo. It's probably 45 minutes south of it, and that's last year's PBR world champion Dalen Swearingen. And actually his dad is who I started going to, actual rodeos and stuff, semi-pro rodeos when I was younger. So it's just, yeah, it's a big rodeo is a big family. And we span from one coast to the other.
What's awesome is you know who you are and you know where you want to be, because the places you just described, you went from this area in New York where there was nothing but cattle to college in Oklahoma where there's tons of cattle to an area in North Carolina, and now where do you live in Virginia? You're down by Bristol, right?
Yep, down near Bristol, probably just the town right above it, 10, 15 miles above it. And yeah, I'm kind of like in the mountains, foothills of the mountains of the Appalachia region.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's a major cattle area. There's actually the bigger part of cattle is on the western part of Virginia.
When you're not bull riding, what are you doing? Are you working?
I also run a plant truck, and then me and my wife, we have our own farm, and we have cattle and horses and sheep, and we do a lot of stuff around the farm.
Okay, you just mentioned you're married. Your wife, she has got to worry about you anytime you get on a bull.
Well, she's actually why I'm here now. She's from here originally in Abingdon, and I'd say that as long as we've been together for 11 or 12 years now, and I'd say that she's learned how to cope with it and deal with it. Just as a bull rider, we learn to funnel our energy and stuff, and your fears and nerves. And she's been through the thick and the thin with me. So I don't know. That'd be a good question for her.
Yeah. How long have you been riding bulls?
I started in upstate New York when I was probably about 12 or 13, I would say.
Okay.
And I'm 34 now. So Yeah,
So
oh,
20 years
two
or so.
decades, solid. Yeah.
Worst injury that you've had to deal with
I would
from
say,
being thrown from a bull?
yeah, there's a lot of injuries, a lot of broke bones, obviously. I would say probably the worst one was in 2011, and I ended up getting my left arm, my humerus bone is what I shattered. Actually, I told the
Oh.
doctor it wasn't too humorous. But out of all the ordeals, I would say that was probably the biggest trial for me. I ended up having 2 reconstructive surgeries on it, and I praise the Lord that I'm able to still be able to do what I love to do and ride bulls.
Yeah, thank God for that. Yeah, it's a very, very dangerous sport.
Sure is, sure is.
And you guys will be coming back to town. I think I have the paper in front of me. I think it's like the 10th straight year you've come to Hampton. Yeah, you're coming
Yep.
in on the 25th, returning to the Hampton Coliseum, the PBR event there, the Velocity Tour event. And it's always interesting when you come in, because I've talked to people that have gone, I've gone, and a lot of people are shocked at how big the bulls are in person,
Yeah.
how really dangerous the sport is, and yet it's one of those sports that to me doesn't get enough publicity for the fact anybody getting on a bull is risking their life. Am I right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. In short, I mean, I feel it's one of the last gladiator sports there is. Like you said, it's 150 average of a 150-pound guy getting on an average of a 1,700 pound animal, sometimes over a ton. And it's the thing about it's unpredictable. Once that chute gate opens and the bull comes out and the ride begins, there's no script in anything. It's hard. The animals they have a mind of their own too. They're animal athletes, in fact, and
Yeah.
and so anything can happen. Obviously, we always want to make great bull rides, and then for a fan's perspective, some close calls and some wrecks are just part of the sport. And surely nobody ever wants to see any of us to get hurt bad or seriously injured, but it is part of the sport.
Yeah.
And there's been a few of my friends in the past several years, my 20-year career, that have passed away riding bulls. And
Yeah,
so,
it is very dangerous. To me, like when somebody says something about a reality television show, I always go, well, The Deadliest Catch, there's people that have died on that show. Their boat went down, they died.
yep,
To me, that's reality. In
sure,
the case of PBR riders, and I would throw NASCAR drivers in there also, because
yep,
at any point in time, it is such a dangerous, crazy sport. And it takes a very special, crazy person to want to do it. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. The Lord blessed instilled that in me, and I'm just thankful He still allows me to do it. And I couldn't do it without Him, that's for sure. Especially for 20 years. The fans are great. I love when we get to come to cities like this, and people get to see the sport and for what it is, and it is entertainment, right? It's amazing show, and it's evolved over the PBR is actually celebrating its 30-year anniversary this year. And like I said, I've ridden for 20 years and probably 15 years professionally in the PBR. So I've watched it evolve a lot, and it's a great show. I hope to see everybody out there. We'll try our best and hope to not let anybody down. And like you said, we've been coming for 10 straight years. I enjoy this event. I've had some success. I've never got the W at this one. So hopefully we'll come in here and we'll
well,
have some good games.
you've had many victories. I read your bio. You've done very well. And let me ask you one last question before we go.
Sure.
What is when you sit down in a bar or wherever, let's say you don't even drink, or you just sit down with somebody in church, I don't know, and somebody says to you, what's the coolest moment you've ever had doing what you do? What's the answer?
Wow, that's a pretty good question. I'm a generalizer, so I would say one of my favorite blessings of my 20-year career is kind of just in a big summary of, like I said earlier, I spoke a little bit that we're a big family, and I think one of my greatest victories in being a professional bull rider is the places I've been able to see, the people I've been able to meet, and the friends and family that I've acquired from one coast to the other, and even other countries such as Canada. Very close family And I feel that if I was to travel across the country and I was to break down, I'd have a friend within an hour, and I wouldn't trade those things for anything. That's probably the most awesome feeling. Now, if we talk about in the arena, evidently, I have a lot of good bull rides over my years, so I couldn't pinpoint one, but just that general feeling too of that I just conquered an animal athlete, such as the ones that we get on, and it's fun. It's adrenaline rush, obviously, and then y'all fans when we have a packed out Coliseum, it feels like you're back in the gladiator days. It's a great feeling too.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Carlos, I wish you all the best. You seem like a super nice guy, and I love talking to the rodeo guys because it's a crazy, like I said, it's a crazy sport, and you can lose your life, which is which obviously nobody wants to see that, nobody. But it's such a dangerous sport, and it just takes a special person to say, yeah, I'm going to do this, and you're one of those guys. So it's very cool to talk to you. Again,
Thanks,
I wish you all the best. And you're welcome.
Appreciate you having me. I remember you said that you went before. Hope to see you again on the 25th.